Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Shri Radhe Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Granta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naranchayava Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nashtaprayasho Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 51, Text number 58. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Sarvabhauma Maharaja Matiste Vimalor Jita Matiste Vimalorjita Varaihi Pralobhitasyapi Varaihi Pralobhitasyapi Na Kamer Vihatayataha Na Kamer Vihatayataha. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Sarvabhauma Maharaja Matiste Vimalorjita Varaihi Pralobhitasyapi Na Kamer Vihatayataha. Na Kamer Vihatayataha. Anuvacha Sarvabhauma Maharaja Matiste Vimalorjita Shri Bhagwan Vacha, the Supreme Lord said, Sarvabhauma, O Emperor, Maharaja, great ruler, Matihi, mine, Te, your, Vimala, spotless, Urjita, potent, Varaihi, with benedictions, Pralobhitasya, of you who were enticed. Api, even though, na, not, Kamaihi, by material desires, Vihata, spoiled, Yataha, sins. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Lord said, O Emperor, great ruler, your mind is pure and potent. Though I enticed you with benedictions, your mind was not overcome by material desires. Commentary by Jiva Goswami. O King of all those ruling the world, Sarvabhauma Maharaja, or O Emperor, O King, the repetition is for respect. Your words are those of the Lord Himself. This shows the good nature of the Lord. Your mind is devoid of impressions of samsara, vimala, and is endowed with bold nature in rasa, urjita. The reason is that your mind is not overcome with objects of desire from kingdom up to liberation, like persons afflicted with greed, because of the practice of bhakti. You have stated that you are fully surrendered in the previous verse. Your mind is fully preoccupied with bhakti. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. So before we start, we'd like to request the blessings of Maharaj and all the senior devotees. Kindly, everyone here is so senior to me. Kindly bless me that we can speak a few words on this verse. So, it's a very interesting chapter, this chapter on Muchkunda. And we have seen that how when Muchkunda saw Lord Shri Krishna, he actually, described the glories of the Lord. But finally, he actually made the point that if you like, if you think I'm qualified, please describe your birth, your activities, and your lineage to us. Because we are very eager to hear, right? And this theme comes again and again in Bhagavatam, that when the listener, actually he asks, oh, can you elaborate on this? Like in third canto, you have Vidura asking Maitreya, again, can you elaborate on this topic? And he said, I am very eager to hear. In third canto, often the words is used like Shraddha Yanvitaha. With faith, I am very eager to hear. So here also, Muchukunda has expressed his eagerness to hear about Krishna. And Krishna actually replies and he says like, actually I have thousands of births, thousands of activities, unlimited, right? And he said like, even if someone is able to count the number of dust particles on this earth, he cannot still count the number of glories of the Lord. The Lord's glories are unlimited, right? It's like going to the infinite and asking, can you tell me something about yourself? I'm infinite. It's like so unlimited. But he says, Krishna says, I'll tell you about my current birth. And then he starts speaking about his current birth and activities. And And then he finally comes to the point and he says that in the past, you repeatedly prayed to me. Therefore, I have personally come to you to show you mercy. Right? So how Krishna is actually reciprocating with the prayer of, with the bhakti of Muchukunda. And then he says, choose some benediction. And he says, I'll fulfill all your benedictions. Right? So, and then the point is actually made at that section that, and this comes again and again in Bhagavatam, that if we can satisfy Krishna, there's nothing else to be obtained in this world. Somehow or other, if we can satisfy Krishna, right? Some siddhir haritoshanam, if we can satisfy Krishna, then everything is perfect. So Krishna makes this point that choose any benediction, I will fulfill all your desires. You know? And at this point, we can think like if we get that, someone comes to us and says, choose any benediction, I'll fulfill all your desires. What will be our list? But so in this verse, so after saying those words, Krishna actually said, choose any benediction. And in this verse, then Muchukunda speaks and he actually gives the whole philosophy in one way. He says that, you know, how everyone here is bewildered by Maya. You know, and because of the influence of Maya, we do not know what is our Swartha Gatim. Prabhupada so frequently quotes this one line of the verse, Na te vidhu Swartha Gatim hi Vishnu. Right? We do not know what is our Swa Artha, our own interest, our own self-interest. And that is actually Vishnu. So Muchukunda is actually making the point, bewildered by Maya, people do not know that the real benefit for each one of us, our own self-interest, is actually to worship Vishnu. Right? And he says only because of an impure mind, people who finally, after so many species have got this human form of life, they actually do not worship your lotus feet. And he makes the point that I have identified myself with my body, with my property, and this body is just like worms and ashes, and still have identified with this. But now, by some good fortune, by association of devotees, my devotion has awakened, and by your mercy, I have become detached from the kingdom. Right? So these are prayers. And then finally, he comes to a point that what is the benediction that Muchukunda is asking? And there's one verse actually in Bhagavatam, it says like, Shrutasya pumsam shamasya. I don't know the rest of the verse, but it actually says that the essence, the goal of all our hearing, all our elaborate hearing, is to come to the point of hearing about the pure devotees from the pure devotees. So even if someone is hearing Krishna Katha, you know, hearing about the glories of Krishna, that all that hearing should bring us to the point of hearing about the devotees of the Lord. You know? And that's the beauty of Srimad Bhagavatam, because in Srimad Bhagavatam, more than talking of that personality Krishna, it is more of the devotee's devotion to that personality. Right? And we see this Narasimha Chaturdashi is coming soon, and in 7th canto we see the focus of the entire 7th canto is on Prahlad Maharaj rather than on Narasimha. Right? It's mainly like Prahlad Maharaj's life, and then Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, his faith on Lord Narasimha. So the focus of Bhagavatam is on the point of the devotee. And hence Bhagavatam is actually so sweet, because it is even sweeter than direct Krishna Katha, is to glorify. So that verse says that the essence of all our hearing is to bring us to the point of hearing about devotees. And here we see again the point that in this entire pastime, we finally come and hear about the prayers of Muchukunda. You know? And what is his prayers? So beautiful prayers. He says, I desire no boon other than service to your lotus feet. The boon most eagerly sought by those free of material desires. So what is his, Krishna has come and said, ask anything, whatever you like, please ask, I'll fulfill all your desires. And Muchukunda has asked that my only desire is service unto your lotus feet. Right? And please protect me from the 6 enemies. And these 6 enemies are lust, anger, greed, envy, etc. And these are never satiated. Right? Never satiated. So please give me shelter under your lotus feet and protect me from these enemies. And all I want is to engage in service unto your lotus feet. Right? So after hearing all these beautiful prayers, now Krishna is responding to the prayers of Muchukunda. Right? And what is the first thing that Krishna actually says? He says, Sarvabhauma Maharaja. today's verse. He's giving great respect to the king. He's saying, you are Sarvabhauma, the emperor. Oh, Maharaja, you're the great ruler. And Jiva Goswami is actually making the point that Krishna is using these titles to show his great respect for Muchukunda. Because Muchukunda, see, his heart is so purified that all he's asking is just service unto Krishna. Right? And we make this point that, like we give this example that if a king, if there, a king has many servants, and he comes to his servants and says like, okay, ask whatever you want. I'm opening my treasury for you. Ask whatever you want. Right? And maybe people will ask, okay, just give me, maybe so many cows or this part of a treasury or give me this. And if a servant just comes to a king and says like, actually, I don't want anything what you have from your treasury. All I want is to serve you. Then how does a king reciprocate with such a person? Right? Initially, the king was pleased by all the servants and he said, okay, take whatever you want. But there is one servant who is like, I don't want anything. I only want to keep serving, keep serving, keep serving. So when that mood is there, that all I want is service unto you, then Krishna actually gets conquered by that mood. And hence here, he's actually addressing Muchukunda with great respect, that you have conquered me with your love, with your devotion. And then further he says, Matihi. Matihi means mind. And two words are actually used for Matihi. He says, your mind is Vimala, spotless, and Urjita, potent. Right? Vimala, Mala means impurities. Vimala means free of all impurities. Right? Like that's like our stage of Anartha Nivritti. Right? Where Anartha means unwanted, right? Which is of no value. That Nivritti, that goes away. Right? Then our mind is pure. So one is spotless mind. And second is Urjita. So Jiva Goswami is explaining Vimala as devoid of the impressions of samsara. Right? So over our lifetimes of existence here in this material world, we have accumulated all these impressions. All these impressions. I was just thinking of this example the other day that, it is so easy to add impressions onto our mind. You just go driving down the road, you see something, or you watch something on TV, this news is going on, this is going on. And as soon as you see, there's already an impression. Especially when you're watching something, the impressions are very strong, because like our mind gets really absorbed. The audio, the video, everything, we are right into that. But to get rid of the impression is not so easy. And I was thinking it's just like, people use this example about like adding calories. So it's so easy, you can just have a piece of cake and then they'll say on the packet maybe like, 500 calories or whatever. And then how much time does it take? You go to the gym and you run and run and run and you'll be like, okay, 30 calories gone. It's just like that. It's just like, it's so easy to create an impression in our mind, but it actually takes a lot of effort to clear our mind of those impressions, to come to the state of Vimala. Right? So Jiva Goswami is saying devoid of impressions of samsara. And then second word is Urjita, which means potent. And Jiva Goswami is actually making the point here, endowed with bold nature in rasa. Endowed with bold nature in rasa. Right? So I was thinking about these 2 points. And then he says that because your mind has these 2 qualities, we'll discuss this further, devoid of impression of samsara, and second, endowed with rasa, then varaihi pralobhitasya. Even though I asked you for benedictions, your mind was actually na kamaihi. You did not ask for any material benediction. Why? Because your mind has these 2 qualities. Vimala and Urjita. Vimala, Urjita. Right? So I was thinking of these 2 qualities, Vimala and Urjita, as one way. Vimala, we said, is like anartha nivriti. All the anarthas in mind, is, we want to get rid of. It's one of the 9 processes in our sadhana bhakti. Get rid of all the anarthas. But is that finally our goal? Our goal is not just to get rid of the anarthas. Our goal is to actually experience the positive experience of Krishna himself. Right? So we say artha pravritti. So one is anartha nivriti, taking away the negative, and one is artha pravritti, developing that direct attachment to Krishna, hearing about Krishna and developing a direct rasa for Krishna. So, one point I was thinking, like, in our devotional service, we may have this experience that we can't give up the higher taste. We can't get the higher taste until we give up the lower taste. Isn't that right? As long as we have the lower taste, we cannot experience the higher taste. And the other side of it is we can't give up the lower taste unless we experience the higher taste. Isn't it? It seems like a catch-22 situation, right? But finally, how do we progress in bhakti if both of these are? Do you agree both of these are true? That we can't get higher taste unless we give up the lower taste, and we can't give up the lower taste unless we get the higher taste. Even in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Param drishta nivartate." He says the mind will be attached to all these, but experience the higher taste. But how will I get the higher taste if my mind is already occupied with all the lower tendencies? So on our path of bhakti, how do we get out of this catch-22 situation? Maybe anyone would like to share any thoughts? Anyone would like to share any thoughts on this?
That if you have a cup of ink and you start pouring milk into it, eventually the milk will push the ink out. So if we keep pouring in positive Krishna impressions, then they'll overwhelm the impressions of, old songs and things like that in the head. But we have to keep pouring and pouring. And of course, we may drop a little ink in here and now and then, which makes it a little longer. But the point is that we have to keep pouring in the Krishna nectar.
Thank you. Mother Rudrani has a point.
One point is about refusing to get any material benedictions, not wanting to ask for anything material. But he's asking for the highest goal, which is to be able to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, which is something that is really beyond any kind of scope of understanding. And it's the highest thing that we can request for. And the Lord may want to give that or not. The Lord may want to actually test the person and say, well, are you qualified to actually render service to me? So he's really very ambitious because he's asking for the highest thing.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this point, that how can this catch-22 situation, that we cannot get a higher taste unless we give up the lower taste, and the second side, we can't give up the lower taste unless we get the higher taste. And I was seeing in the Bhagavad Gita, you can sit. Thank you. So in Bhagavad Gita, if you see the sequence of flow, in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna actually talks about this enemy of lust, he says, kama esha, krodha esha, rajoguna samudbhava, right? So enemy of lust. And then he concludes that section by making the point where he says, evam buddha param buddha samstabhyatmana atmana jahi shatrum mahabaho kama rupam durasadam. The last verse in the third chapter, where he says, we should study the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence. Thus by spiritual strength, conquer this formidable enemy known as lust. Right? So just a verse before, actually text 41, he actually says, how do you conquer the lust? The first thing he says, regulate the senses. Right? Regulate the senses. And so first we regulate. So yes, our mind is attracted to lower tendencies, but we regulate. And at the same time, Krishna is saying, when you regulate, you have to fill it with, steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence. Right? And basically in that section is talking of deliberate spiritual intelligence as transcendental knowledge. So we fill our mind with transcendental knowledge. And Krishna makes that as the point by which we can overcome the lower tendencies, that by actually receiving transcendental knowledge. Right? And then what kind of knowledge, right? So in the fourth chapter we see Krishna talks about his glories in verse like yada yada hi dharmasya and then janma karma cha me divyam, etc. And then further, if you see the flow of the Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter, when Krishna talks of Dhyana Yoga, Arjun says, oh, the mind is very, very difficult to control. Right? He says it's almost impossible to control the mind. And Krishna agrees to that point. And he says, yes. Right? He says, it is very difficult, but it is possible by constant practice and detachment. Right? Constant practice and detachment. And we see that Krishna actually, after this section, then Arjun asks another question. So one way that topic is, Arjun asks like, okay, what happens if someone is like, does little bit bhakti and then, little bit spiritual life and he stops? Is he lost in both the realms, material and spiritual? And then conversation continues. But finally in the 8th chapter, in text number 15, Krishna actually says, Mam upetya, not 8:15, 8:14 I think. 8:14, yeah. What's that verse? Yeah. Ananya cheta satatam yo mam smarati nitya saha tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yogina. That he says, yes, mind is difficult to control. He has made that point. But finally, in the Bhagavad Gita, this is one verse where he says sulabha. It is actually easy. And how is it easy? For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Like going back to Rishabh's point, somehow or other constantly you have to keep filling the mind. Even though you don't want to, you have the tendency for lower things, just constantly keep filling the mind, keep filling the mind. Like, I often think about this point that how, I've heard that Prabhupada said, just do it. Don't think so much. Because as soon as we get our mind to think about it, should I chant, should I not chant? Should I read, should I not read? As soon as we get the mind and opportunity to think over it, then it's already too late. Many times it's already too late. Because dhyato vishayam pumsam, we are already thinking of something else and then the downfall starts. Right? So just do it. Like, we know what we have to do. Chanting, hearing, reading all these wonderful books. So just do it. If we keep just doing it, even though our mind is attracted to lower tendencies, and if we keep saying, yes, I know that this is not good for me, mind is going there, let me just do it, just keep feeling it positive. Then, gradually, it's a gradual process where our mind will get vimala, that all those impurity, lower tendencies go away. At the same time, urjita, it will develop positive rasa for Krishna. So, when we say, okay, we want to fill our mind with that positive knowledge, what kind of knowledge are we filling our mind with? So, yes, we have, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all these wonderful books. I was thinking of even in knowledge, in Nectar of Devotion, it talks of knowledge which is pratikul to bhakti and knowledge which is anukul to bhakti. Right? So knowledge which is actually not so favorable for bhakti. What kind of knowledge is that? Knowledge about that, of oneness with the Lord. That I am a spiritual, aham brahmasmi. If we focus more on the aspect that I am spiritual, and with that concept we try to develop detachment to this world, then it says that kind of detachment will make our heart hard-hearted. Hard-hearted. So if you are just focusing on the aspect of detachment, anartha nivriti, without that positive artha pravritti, then it makes our heart hard-hearted. But on the side, what kind of knowledge do we need? The anukul gyan. It says the anukul gyan is actually the knowledge which actually starts off by saying our subordination with respect to Krishna. Jivera Swarupoya Krishnera Nityadas. The first instruction Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives on. That our position is what? Servant of Krishna. Servant of Krishna. That subordination, that knowledge that starts off with the subordination, and that knowledge that actually inspires us. Okay, subordination is there, but what should I do with that? Engage in bhakti. What are the positive activities? So inspires us to engage in bhakti. And third, that actually helps us develop an appreciation of the glories of the Lord. And I was thinking about this, how, Prabhupada's genius that even in the initial days, he actually published Krishna book. And one may say, like, if you read further in Krishna book, then you have even the deep pastimes of Krishna, like stealing the clothes of the gopis, and then the Rasa Panchadhyaya, the 5 chapters. I mean, this is like, really high level knowledge. But Prabhupada actually, just in the starting years also gave Krishna book. And I was thinking, like, and also he said, every night before sleeping, you read Krishna book. Right? It's good I'm saying this so that I can try to implement that. I'm not doing that, but it's nice that every day we read Krishna book at night. And I was thinking of this point that why Prabhupada gave Krishna book initially itself, and he stressed on reading Krishna book. Because our process of anartha nivritti is actually by doing artha pravritti, which actually involves direct hearing about Krishna katha. Directly hearing about Krishna, like reading Krishna book, reading stories of Krishna, and directly about Krishna. And when we are reading, by that knowledge, we are getting positive appreciation of the glories of the Lord, then naturally all those negative things can go away. And hence, like of all the paths, bhakti is actually said to be easy. Because in other paths, we are focusing on anartha nivritti, and you say, okay, let me get rid of anarthas first, and then I'll see what is next. But the stage of getting rid of anarthas without that positive hearing about Krishna Katha, who is all attractive, who can really, like a magnet, attract our mind towards him, then that anartha nivritti becomes very difficult. So our path of anartha nivritti is by getting the positive information of Krishna himself, knowing about Krishna's pastime, hearing about Krishna, and so on. So that's the way when we can actually get rid of the lower tendencies and get a higher taste, because Krishna is all attractive. All we have to do is hear directly about Krishna. Yeah. So, okay, let me see if I had some more points, but any comments or anyone would like to add anything? Any questions? You can say something?
Anyway, I really like that point about how it's harder to get rid of unwanted things. Like old people tend to have a lot of possessions, and they come into the house very easily over many years. And then to try to declutter and divest is so hard.
That's another nice example. Like the example of getting calories. Easy to get calories, hard to lose. Similarly, easy to accumulate.
Yeah, I heard on a book, one lady said, because we distribute sweets, she said, a minute on the lips, forever on the hips.
Yes,
And it was interesting because you used the term catch-22. And when I was in high school, I read the book Catch-22, where it's actually a book. It was written by an author in the 1950s, and it's about World War II.
Okay.
And it's about the catch-22 is that a guy wants to. He's a pilot who has to do bombing raids, and so he goes to the psychiatrist and says, "I'm crazy, so I can't fly these bombing raids." And the psychiatrist says, "If you don't want to fly the bombing raids, you're not crazy. So therefore." You have to keep flying. But he says, I can't fly, I'm crazy. No, the fact that you don't want to fly and do the bombing raids shows that you're sane.
Yeah.
So the point being is that this impression of me reading this book 50 years ago is still there. And it's not a bad impression because it's good, in one sense, it helps us understand.
Bhakti, yeah.
But the fact is that we have these things that are in there so deep. And I hadn't thought about that phrase in a long time, but when you brought it up, it was the same. Oh yeah, that book.
I mean, it's really
1968.
It's really interesting this point that we have watched the movie like 10 years ago, and if someone comes and talks about the movie, and you can immediately remember. Oh yeah, that's the theme of it. And even we read Bhagavad Gita like maybe 2 weeks back, and it's like, oh, what is that verse? It's like so hard to remember, like Krishna Katha, but it's so easy to remember material. And I was thinking that's because the nature of the mind is just attracted towards material thing. That's what it's looking for. So as soon as it gets something, it's just like, okay, let me hold on to this. It's like Maya, just holding on to it. But if we develop that, so also think about this point that anything that we want to experience in the material realm, like, particularly emotions, finally it comes to like experiencing some emotions on the material, that can be obtained in the fullest extent on the spiritual path. So that's like another phrase I keep telling my mind in my sadhana that, whatever you want to experience here, that is there in full in spiritual reality. So turn to spiritual reality. You'll get a deeper experience rather than these flickering experiences here. We have Ratna. Okay, Ratna Gopi, and then we have Mother Rudran.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. This class is coming so perfect because I've been like, I don't want to say struggling, but kind of definitely struggling with this topic exactly, like the mind and controlling the mind to remain more steady in Krishna consciousness. And so Mother Krishna Priya also told me recently, talking to her about it, that when we offer artis in direct service to the deity, that's another way to become very absorbed in that mood of. And so I would also like to ask, any pastimes you find particularly capture your mind to focus on Krishna?
I mean, at this stage, I would say like any pastime, just get attracted to Krishna's pastime, whether that's Balya Leela, Govardhan Leela, his cowherd pastime. At this point, at least for me, I'm not focusing on one particular pastime of Krishna, but just, read Krishna book, through starting to ending, and then at a later stage, maybe a more, one of those pastimes really sticks onto you. But certainly like Govardhan Leela is something that I really like.
Something that is very dear to ladies is the pastimes with Mother Yashoda and baby Krishna, or the interaction between mother and son. The point I wanted to make is about how you say that the highest pleasure, the highest taste, the most wonderful experience is to actually be connected to the Supreme Lord. Now, the resistance of the mind is because the mind is so full of gunk. So how we do that is by actually developing the knowledge and the intelligence to be able to realize that we can make choices. And that if we choose a certain thing, that will be the result. If we choose to be involved in material activities, we'll get a lot of so-called satisfaction. But if we engage our mind in thinking about the benefit of choosing the process of devotion, that we'll eventually get there. Right now, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. But eventually, as we become more and more purified, it will be absolutely automatic, where our consciousness will go in that direction, by flowing in that direction, diving in the ocean of absolute bliss. So there's a lot of gunk in the way, and so we have to use, in the meantime, our intelligence and our knowledge to know that you persist and we persevere. Eventually, we'll get there.
Nice. So getting the intelligence to at least make the distinction that, this is good for me, this is not good for me. This is favorable to bhakti, this is unfavorable to bhakti. That intelligence, that's very, very nice point. And then the second point that you made is the point that the Maharaj was saying in the other class, the verse where Devhoti is saying that, Kapila Dev is saying that, let my mind flow like the Ganges to your lotus feet, like even Queen Kunti actually says, Tvai me ananya vishaya matir madhupate sakrit. Right? And just like the Ganga flows naturally to the ocean, let my mind naturally flow towards you, spontaneity. So as we go through our struggles, then our attraction to Krishna becomes more and more spontaneous. So the anartha nivritti, we want to take out the anarthas by that artha pravritti. So vimala and urjita, right? And getting that artha pravritti. And then we proceed to the stage finally of spontaneous bhakti.
And how important it is to have the association of devotees who can give us encouragement Not to
associated.
criticize, but to encourage.
Nice, very nice. I think Mother Tulsi has one last point.
That's how you're feeling and inspiring others. I know whenever my heart starts shrinking more than normal, just by going out and sharing Krishna consciousness, immediately everything opens up again.
Very nice point. So those in here didn't hear online that when we actually go out and share Krishna consciousness, then all of a sudden the mind opens and we get the higher taste. So, thank you so much. We'll end here. Granthar Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhasya. Thank you.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvandam Maravindanalayatacham Bharavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Asa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Vivan Vikayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Namahum Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shimate Bhaktivedanta Taminiti Namine Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Kurvani Pacha, Renee, say Shah, Shunyavadi, Masya Jagadi, Zatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaurata Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaurata Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaurata Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Radha, Goloka, Radha, Goloka, Radha. Naya Radha, Goloka, Radha, Naya Radha. Hey Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Hey Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Shri Radhe, Jai Om Vishnupad.
Marjanam. Sarvatmasnapanam Paramvidayate. Shita Bhakriva Bhagavan Namapi Daiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amani Namana Dana Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoita Kitwai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kribayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrashim Vichintaya Nayanam Gadashu Daraya Varanam Gad Gadrudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanamagrahaneva Vishyati Yugayatam Namishena Sakshusha Avashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishyavapadamritam Manastumam Adarshanam Marmahatakarotuva Yatatata Vidadataturlampato Matprananatastusa Evanapara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms in your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand an end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Shri Ki Jai.